Okay, we're going to take a look at the client billing module. We'll begin by creating a client bill account. We'll start by clicking on the Carrier Accounts tab, going to Billing Accounts. It's always a good idea to check first to make sure that the billing account does not already exist. There's a couple of ways of creating a new billing account. One method is to create a billing account from a referring provider. In this situation, you would go to the referring provider and convert the referring provider to a billing account. Not all referring providers will become billing accounts. There are some situations where the referring provider will be the target billing account, and some situations where it may be the facility. You'll notice over to the right of the billing account search screen, you'll see a column that displays the related contracts. It's important to note that without a related contract and its associated fee schedules, pricing cannot be set automatically. We'll begin by going into an existing billing account. The office field is optional. The office field would be used in situations where we may be billing offices individually and we need a method of distinguishing between multiple offices. The next thing we'll take a look at is the Assign section. The Assign section displays unattached charges over here in this portal to the left. These items here will be items that are attached to this group and within this date range, but have not yet been attached to an invoice. So we call them unattached charges. Thus, they'll have a transaction code of UN. In the center section here, this portal holds the charge lines from a selected invoice. In this case, there's no invoice, so we're going to create a new one. So we click on the Create New Invoice button. This creates a new invoice and loads that invoice into the invoice holder. From here, we have the option to load any of these charge lines into this invoice, either all at once or individually. You can also subgroup these down by date range if you wish as well. And let's just attach a few of these to this invoice. These items are now loaded into the invoice section. You'll note that the invoiced items have an orangish yellow glow, and the blue items are for the unattached items. And if we select an individual charge line, we'll note that the charge line holder over on the right assumes the color of the selected item. Also, if an invoice is currently loaded and we create a new charge manually, that new charge will automatically be linked to that invoice. If, for example, there is no invoice loaded, that charge will be created as an unattached charge. The unattached portal over on the left will typically be filled automatically from an HL7 file that feeds Easy Billing Professional. You can also manually create charges as well by clicking on the Add Charge button over here on the right. You can load an existing charge and edit it over here on the right, or go to the charge screen and do more detailed editing here if you wish, and return. You'll also note a small portal which holds unprocessed invoices. It is only a good idea to attach charge lines to invoices that are unprocessed. Processed invoices will generally be referred to as invoices which have already been sent to the client. At any point, you can also navigate directly to that invoice, change statuses, look at individual items. You can also print the invoice from here also. This would be considered the manual entry process for charge lines, and in many cases will be unnecessary, as we also have a batch automated process for people who have a high volume of client bill accounts. With a billing account, typically there will be referring providers or referring physicians who are attached to that account. And in some cases, by the individual charge line, people like to keep track of who the given referring provider was at the charge line level. And you'll note that there is a drop-down list that shows the referring providers that are attached to that account. So this list in this scenario will only show the referring providers who are attached to this account. If you go to the Providers tab, the provider team members who have this reddish hue to them, they are not listed as referring physicians or referring providers. To attach a provider team member to a billing account does not require that they are a referring physician or referring provider. Okay, to take a look at a few of the options in the client bill query. One, that this column, which reflects the invoices, will only reflect invoices within this date range that are within the selected parameter of either being open or closed, and within this group. Note that the end date here is 2/28/2011. If I move this date out one full month to the March 31st, you'll notice that we now add an additional charge line in two of the accounts and an additional amount for unattached items. This is due to the fact that these charge lines came in after February 28th. If you're invoicing by the month, it would be desirable not to show these items. Thus, by limiting ourselves to February 28th, balances and charge lines will not be reflected that have not yet been invoiced. At any point, you can locate all billing accounts by clicking on the A button in the billing account query. Note the line items that are matched to that account within any given date range. By using the transaction code, we can determine which type of items we see in that list. In this case, the only items that we have here are the UN transaction code, which is an unattached transaction.